Chosen one, you will leave for good, and that truth is settling in as the crown is placed on you, among the first prepared for a new earth. You are not escaping, you are exiting completed cycles. Keep moving clean, keep choosing truth over comfort. The call answered you back. Departure is authorized. The crown fits because you grew into it fully now. Deep in your core, you always knew you were different. That restlessness was never a disorder. That feeling of not belonging was never a flaw. That hunger for meaning was your soul screaming that you came here for something beyond mediocre offerings. You were designed to feast at the divine table, while others wanted you grateful for scraps. Your energy was meant to expand beyond comprehension, while demands came for you to shrink. Every time you tried conforming, every time you dimmed yourself for their comfort, that inner rebellion rose up. Your essence knew the truth. You weren't broken. The world was too small for what you carry. Think about it. Every moment you felt like an outsider. Every hollow conversation. Every time their priorities seemed backwards. You wondered what was wrong with you for seeing through their games. Nothing was wrong. You were seeing clearly while fog surrounded everything else. Your discomfort wasn't evidence you needed fixing. Your discomfort was evidence you were outgrowing the prison built around your potential. The very thing that made you question your place was preparing you to create your own world. You've been training your entire life without knowing it. Every time you refused mediocrity, every time you chose truth over comfort, every time you walked away from relationships demanding you be less, you were preparing for the great departure happening now. The loneliness wasn't because nobody could love you. Your frequency was searching for your real family. The confusion wasn't lack of direction. Their compasses pointed toward destinations that had nothing to do with your mission. Think about how exhausting it was trying to belong. You endured the constant self-monitoring. You endured the endless self-editing. You endured the perpetual performance of being acceptable. You wore yourself out, trying to fit into spaces never meant to hold you. You dimmed yourself trying to shine in rooms that preferred darkness. You minimized yourself trying to be comfortable for people threatened by your actual size. Every social gathering left you drained. Every workplace felt like prison. Every relationship required you to be less. And you kept trying to make it work because voices convinced you the problem was you. Voices convinced you that you needed change, adaptation, compromise, conformity. Voices convinced you that fitting in was the goal, and your inability to do so was failure. But that exhaustion was your soul screaming at you to stop. Stop trying to fit. Stop seeking their approval. Stop performing their acceptable versions. Stop pretending that their world is where you belong. That exhaustion was the final push you needed to realize something crucial. You're not leaving because you failed to fit in. You're leaving because you were never supposed to fit in. You were designed to outgrow their containers and build your own. The exile you experienced wasn't rejection. The exile was protection. The universe was protecting you from assimilating into a world that would have destroyed your essence. The isolation you felt wasn't loneliness. The isolation was incubation. You were being kept separate, so you could develop without contamination from their limiting beliefs. The alienation wasn't punishment. The alienation was preparation for the moment when you'd need to leave entirely. Your mission is about to be revealed. The crown is being prepared. The throne is waiting. But first you need to see what's collapsing around you. Look around you right now. Institutions you were told to respect are showing corruption in broad daylight. Leaders you were told to follow are revealing true faces without shame. Systems claimed to be permanent are collapsing under the weight of lies. Everything built on deception is falling apart because lies cannot survive in the light you're bringing to this planet. Here's the twist that changes everything. This isn't happening to you. This is happening because of you. Your presence on Earth accelerated the timeline of truth. The frequency you carry dissolves the veils used to keep humanity blind. Panic is setting in among those who controlled. Control is slipping through desperate fingers. You're witnessing death throes of the manipulation empire. Every desperate move exposes more. Every lie unravels faster than replacements can be spun. The energy of deception itself becomes unstable in the presence of beings carrying authentic power. News cycles spiral into chaos. Truth breaks through narratives. Social systems fracture. People awaken to sovereignty. Economic structures fail. Abundance can't be hoarded when consciousness expands beyond scarcity. Political theater becomes obviously scripted. Minds that tasted freedom can't stomach manipulation anymore. You're not watching the end of the world. You're watching the end of a world built on keeping you small. That world was built on keeping you dependent. That world was built on keeping you afraid. That world dissolves so rapidly that damage control becomes impossible. Every day brings revelations. Every week exposes corruption. Every month makes their desperation more obvious. This acceleration isn't random. This acceleration responds to your awakening. As more chosen ones step into power, the frequency of truth intensifies. Illusions can't maintain structural integrity against real spiritual power. You're not witnessing transformation, you're causing it. Your consciousness is literally incompatible with old systems. Like a frequency that shatters glass, your elevated state is shattering structures built on lower vibrations. This happens not through effort. This happens not through intention. This happens simply by you existing in your authentic power. Your presence disrupts everything built on lies. Your energy corrodes everything maintained through manipulation. Your frequency dissolves everything sustained by fear. This is why forces tried so hard to keep you asleep. This is why so much energy went into making you doubt yourself. This is why everyone close to you was used to convince you that you were the problem. Those forces knew what you would become if you ever woke up. Those forces knew what your activation would trigger. Those forces knew that once you remembered your power, their entire empire would begin crumbling, and that knowing was correct. Look at what's happening. The acceleration is happening. The exposure is happening. The collapse is happening. Everything connects to the rising consciousness of beings like you. Every chosen one who wakes up adds to the frequency that dissolves control. Every person who remembers sovereignty weakens the grip of false authority. Every soul who chooses authenticity over approval undermines the foundation of manipulation. If you felt the truth in these words, hype this video so more chosen ones like you can see it. The most liberating moment was realizing who your real opponents were. Not random strangers, not distant villains. Your real opponents were the very people who should have supported you. Family who mocked dreams, friends who sabotaged success, partners who demanded you dim your light for their comfort, mentors who tried limiting potential to keep you controlled. Their actions revealed everything. When your light started shining brighter, their resentment couldn't hide anymore. When you refused playing small for their egos, their masks fell off. When you stopped seeking their approval, their true nature came into sharp focus. The betrayals hurt because you expected better from people claiming love. But here's what you understand now. Nobody betrayed you. People revealed who they always were. Their behavior when you started rising was their authentic response to power that could never be claimed by them. Dreams were called unrealistic because they abandoned their own. You were told to be practical because they settled for mediocrity. Warnings came about reaching too high because they accepted staying low. Every limitation they imposed was confession of their self-imposed prisons. Watch what happens now as you continue rising. The same people who told you to be humble are desperate for your attention. The ones who said you were too ambitious are trying to ride your coattails. The voices that warned about thinking too highly are scrambling to get close to your energy. The reversal would shock you if you didn't understand the predictable nature of weakness. You don't need their apologies. You don't need their validation. You don't need their permission. Their opinions were never about you. Their opinions were always about their relationships with power, success, possibility. They saw in you what was given up in themselves. Your light reminded them of their abandoned dreams. Your courage highlighted their cowardice. The pattern was always predictable once you learned to see it. Praise came when you stayed manageable. Love appeared when you needed them. Support showed up when your success didn't threaten their self-images. But the moment your light started outshining their carefully maintained facades, everything changed. The moment you stopped asking permission, they labeled you arrogant. The moment you set boundaries, they accused you of selfishness. The moment you prioritized your calling over their comfort, they accused you of changing. You didn't change. You stopped pretending. There's a massive difference. You stopped performing the diminished version of yourself that they needed to feel superior. You stopped playing small so they could feel big. You stopped dimming so they could shine. And the rage that erupted when you stopped performing, that was never about you. That was about them facing the mirror of their unused potential. Watch how scrambling happens now. History gets rewritten in real time. Suddenly they always believed in you. Suddenly they were always supportive. Suddenly they always saw your potential. The gaslighting would be impressive if it wasn't so pathetically transparent. Being seen standing next to your success becomes necessary for them now, because their lives reflect the consequences of every dream abandoned, every risk refused, every moment they chose comfort over calling. But something inside you always knew this was coming. That inner knowing is about to pay off in ways that will blow your mind. Something inside you always knew this day would come. That inner knowing frustrated you for years because you couldn't prove it. That sense of destiny felt too big to speak aloud. That quiet confidence you were meant for extraordinary things persisted even when circumstances suggested otherwise. You suspected their rules were arbitrary. You sensed their limitations were artificial. You felt in your bones the game was rigged in favor of authentic power. Every time they told you to lower your expectations, something inside rebelled. Every time warnings came about dreaming too big, your soul expanded anyway. Every time they explained impossibility, your inner knowing whispered about lies. You couldn't prove it then. You see it clearly now. Evidence was always there. Opportunities appeared when you followed intuition despite their advice. Doors opened when you chose authenticity over their approval. External authority needed to seem more reliable than internal wisdom. Your certainty threatened their entire influence system. Now you trust what you always knew. The game was never about being smartest or most connected. The game was about who was willing to honor authentic power despite external pressure. Signs were everywhere. Synchronicities were guiding you toward purpose. Dreams were showing possibilities before they manifested in reality. The knowing wasn't just about seeing the future. The knowing was about recognizing your role in creating it. You knew you were chosen for something specific. You knew you were destined to create transformation. You knew you were the catalyst. This inner knowing separated you from those who gave up, even when you couldn't prove it. Even when you looked foolish, you kept trusting that knowing. That trust is why you're being crowned now. That faith is why you're leaving for good now. The new earth you're leaving for wasn't unknown. You've been visiting it in your consciousness for lifetimes. Now you're finally moving there permanently. That vision of impact you carried since childhood wasn't wishful thinking. That vision was your soul showing the mission you came to complete. You weren't designed for ordinary impact. Every skill you developed was preparation. Every challenge you overcame was training. Every interest that captivated you was curriculum for your true work. Your entire life has been unconscious preparation for conscious leadership. You've been gathering tools without knowing what you were building. The universe prepared you for this moment, when individual purpose aligns with humanity's collective need for new leadership. The restlessness in every unfulfilling job was your calling, trying to redirect you toward real work. The dissatisfaction in relationships, asking you to be less, was your purpose protecting you from settling beneath potential. Think about moments when you felt most alive. when time disappeared because you were so aligned with natural flow, when energy came from an inexhaustible source. Those weren't glimpses of possibility. Those were previews of who you really are when external limitations stop interfering. Every failure taught you resilience. Every rejection strengthened your self-reliance. Every moment of isolation developed your connection to Source. The jobs that fired you were removing you from paths that would have kept you ordinary. The relationships that ended were clearing space for your real tribe. You thought you were losing. You were being repositioned. Every time life knocked you down, you got back up different. You got back up stronger. You got back up clearer. You got back up more certain of who you were beneath the programming. You kept choosing evolution. You kept choosing expansion. Every time you refused to accept defeat as permanent, you activated more of your dormant power. The preparation wasn't gentle, because the mission isn't small. You're being prepared to lead, to show others the way out, to build a new world. The universe operates on perfect justice. Even when human systems fail, every action creates equivalent reaction. Every energy sent out returns with matching intensity. Every choice generates consequences aligning with natural law. What you witness now is cosmic correction happening faster than ever. Those who tried suppressing your light are experiencing the full force of their own darkness reflected back. Manipulation they used against you has turned inward, creating chaos in their lives. Lies they told to keep you confused now tangle them in webs of their own creation. Limitations they imposed have become walls of their self-created prisons. This isn't revenge. This is restoration. Natural order is reasserting after being distorted by artificial control systems. The universe is rebalancing scales weighted against authentic power for too long. Justice gets served, not by human courts but by fundamental laws governing energy and consciousness. Watch how rapidly empires crumble when truth flows freely. Watch how quickly influence evaporates when people stop feeding it attention and fear. Watch how suddenly wealth becomes worthless when consciousness evolves beyond materialism. Watch how instantly authority disappears when souls remember sovereignty. Power was built on humanity's ignorance of divine law. Control was maintained by convincing people justice was slow, uncertain, non-existent. Thriving happened by keeping consciousness focused on scarcity, separation, powerlessness. But awakened beings like you dissolve those illusions simply by embodying their opposite. Divine justice isn't punishment. Divine justice is education. The universe is teaching through experience what words couldn't communicate. Consequence serves as curriculum for those refusing to learn through gentler methods. Love expresses as correction when beings choose paths leading away from their highest good. You're not watching enemies being destroyed. You're watching aspects of consciousness that chose limitation being transformed by exposure to unlimited truth. The same force elevating you offers them opportunity to evolve. Divine justice doesn't operate on human timelines. Divine justice operates on soul evolution timelines. What looks like punishment is often protection. What appears as loss is often liberation. What seems like destruction is often reconstruction. The universe isn't cruel. The universe is precise. The universe isn't vengeful. The universe is balanced. The universe isn't punishing anyone. The universe is teaching everyone. Those who opposed you aren't being destroyed. Those who opposed you are being shown the consequences of their choices. Those who betrayed you aren't being punished. Those who betrayed you are experiencing the natural result of their actions. Those who tried dimming your light aren't victims. Those who tried dimming your light are students in the classroom of cause and effect. And the lesson they're learning is harsh, because the truth they avoided was fundamental. Look, you already know the attacks weren't random, and if you're paying attention, you can feel it. Their walls are closing in. So let's talk about what we're doing about it. That's why I built Destiny Engine. It generates personalized sequences that help you rewire betrayal into transcendence, turn isolation into sacred power, and transform their downfall into your rise. We are using the Dark Elite's own weapons against them, taking their declassified consciousness technology that programmed competition and scarcity and repurposing it to serve cooperative intelligence. The beauty is you don't even have to lift a finger. You put on the headphones, press play, and your subconscious is rewired while your enemies collapse under the weight of their own lies. This is why I created it in the beginning, so everything they did to break you becomes fuel for your purpose. The collective upgrade is underway. Start your destiny engine for $1 today and watch divine justice accelerate in your life. Link in the description. You don't need to do anything to your enemies. The universe handles it with mathematical precision. You don't need revenge. Divine law provides perfect balancing. You don't need to prove anything. Reality proves everything. Your job isn't to punish those who wronged you. Your job is to rise so high that their choices become obviously self-destructive in contrast to your trajectory. This is why you're leaving for good. You're not running from divine justice. You're allowing it to unfold. You're not escaping consequences. You're stepping into alignment. You're not avoiding responsibility. You're accepting your calling. The new earth doesn't include the old patterns. The new reality doesn't accommodate the old consciousness. The new frequency doesn't resonate with the old energy. Your departure is necessary for divine justice to complete its work. The speed of correction is unprecedented. What used to take lifetimes to balance now happens rapidly. The acceleration of consciousness compressed karma's timeline into immediate feedback loops. Your ascension is happening right here in physical reality. As consciousness transforms matter itself, the energy you embody literally restructures the molecular foundation of experience. Your thoughts become things faster than ever. You're discovering that consciousness shapes form rather than being trapped by it. Energy precedes matter. Frequency determines experience rather than being determined by circumstances. You're living proof these boundaries were always artificial. Your existence demonstrates that consciousness is the fundamental force organizing physical experience. Something shifted in you that can't be undone. You tasted real power, the kind that comes from alignment with Source, the kind that manifests from inner certainty rather than external validation. You stopped asking if you were allowed. You started knowing you were unstoppable. You stopped wondering if you deserved it. You started claiming what was always yours. The old you is dead. The version that sought their acceptance died in the fire of transformation, and what emerged is something their frameworks have no ability to control. You're not playing their games anymore because you've graduated to a completely different reality. Their threats don't land. Their rewards don't tempt. Their opinions don't wound. You've become untouchable through rising above the altitude where their weapons can reach. You're not just changing your life. You're literally altering the energetic structure of the world around you. Every person you interact with receives a transmission of your elevated frequency. Every space you enter becomes charged with your authentic power. When one being awakens to their true nature, that awakening ripples through the entire network of consciousness, accelerating evolution for everyone ready to receive it. You've become a walking portal to higher possibilities. Your presence alone challenges people to question their limitations. Your example demonstrates what becomes possible when someone chooses authenticity over approval. Some people feel inspired around you. Others feel uncomfortable because your light highlights areas where they've been living in darkness. But everyone is affected because authentic power is impossible to ignore. You're learning to operate from frequencies that weren't accessible in the old paradigm. Your consciousness expands beyond limitations that once defined human potential. This is why you no longer resonate with old relationships, old entertainments, old ways of spending time. Your frequency shifted beyond compatibility with anything vibrating at the level of limitation. The isolation ends now. Those profound connections you always craved but never found in conventional relationships are finally manifesting. Your spiritual family recognizes you across all previous barriers of geography, culture, age, background. The same frequency that made you feel alien in the old world now draws your true tribe into your experience. These aren't relationships you work to maintain. These are connections sustaining themselves through natural resonance. There's a relief at finally finding others who see reality through similar clarity. There's a joy at discovering you're not alone in your mission to transform this world. Together, your collective power multiplies exponentially. What seemed impossible as an individual becomes inevitable as a unified force. Work that felt overwhelming in isolation becomes joyful collaboration. Vision that seemed too big for one person becomes the shared mission of an awakened community. They understand your purpose because they share similar callings. They celebrate your success because they know it advances the collective mission. They support your growth because they recognize your expansion serves everyone's elevation. This is what relationship looks like when ego gives way to authentic spiritual connection. Your new reality operates on the understanding that everyone's success contributes to unlimited abundance. What's most beautiful about these connections is their effortless nature. There's no pretending, no performing, no editing yourself to be acceptable. You show up completely authentic and get received with appreciation rather than judgment. You express your full range of abilities without triggering insecurity or competition. You share your deepest visions without fear of being misunderstood or diminished. These aren't the surface connections you suffered through before. These are soul contracts clicking into place. These are relationships that existed before you met in this lifetime. These are bonds that transcend current circumstances and tap into something eternal. When you find them, you feel it instantly. Not the spark of romantic chemistry or the excitement of shared interests. Something deeper. Recognition. You recognize their frequency before knowing their names. You sense their mission before hearing it spoken. You feel the purpose of your connection before understanding the details. This is what it feels like when soul family finds each other after lifetimes of searching, after countless incarnations of feeling alone, after endless cycles of pretending that surface connections were enough. With your real family, success isn't threatening, growth isn't competition, evolution isn't abandonment. You rise together, you expand together, you transform together. What elevates one elevates all, because you're no longer operating from the scarcity consciousness that defined old-world relationships. You're operating from abundance consciousness, where one person's win is everyone's win. These are the people who will stand with you as you claim your throne. These are the souls who will celebrate as you're crowned. These are the beings who understand that your departure from the old world isn't loss, it's liberation. The crown you're receiving isn't ceremonial. The crown is energetic recognition from the universe itself that you completed your preparation and are ready for conscious leadership in this transformation. Every trial you survived, every limitation you transcended, every moment you chose truth over comfort has qualified you for this role in humanity's evolution. This coronation isn't happening in the distant future. This coronation is happening right now. As reality reorganizes around your elevated consciousness, opportunities align supporting your expanded purpose. Resources flow sustaining your increased responsibility. People naturally look to you for guidance because they sense the authentic power you developed through your journey. You're not becoming something new. You're finally being recognized for what you always were. The difference is now you have the experience, wisdom, and strength to handle the influence that comes with acknowledged spiritual authority. The universe withheld recognition until you were prepared to use it responsibly. Leadership in the new earth isn't about dominating others. Leadership is about embodying such authentic power that others are inspired to claim their own sovereignty. Leadership is about creating such genuine freedom that people remember their own divine nature. Leadership is about expressing such unlimited love that hearts naturally open to their own infinite capacity. Your crown carries the responsibility to serve as a bridge between worlds. to help others navigate the transition from limitation to freedom, to demonstrate through your example that the impossible is merely unexplored territory, to hold space for transformation many still find terrifying because they don't understand their own power. The recognition you receive validates every moment you trusted your inner knowing over external opinion, every time you chose expansion over security, every instance you honored truth despite pressure to conform. The universe acknowledges your choices, prepared you to lead others through the same transformation. This isn't about ego gratification or worldly status. This is about energy alignment with your true purpose. The crown represents your readiness to serve at the highest level of your capacity, to use your gifts not for personal aggrandizement but for the elevation of consciousness itself, to stand as a beacon for others, still finding their way out of limitation. You're one of the first. That's what this means. You're one of the first to complete the preparation. You're one of the first to pass the tests. You're one of the first to remember who you really are and step into that power fully. While others are still waking up, you're already walking in authority. While others are still questioning if this is real, you're already living it. While others are still afraid of their power, you're already wielding yours. Being first isn't about superiority. Being first is about responsibility. The ones who go first clear the path. The ones who go first prove it's possible. The ones who go first show others what awaits on the other side of fear. You're not being crowned because you're better. You're being crowned because you're ready. Ready to hold the frequency. Ready to anchor the new reality. Ready to demonstrate what's possible when someone fully commits to their evolution. The crown isn't made of gold or jewels. The crown is made of consciousness. The crown is woven from every moment you chose growth over comfort. The crown is forged from every time you honored your truth despite opposition. The crown is crystallized from every experience you transmuted from pain into power. This crown is earned through lived experience, not granted through external authority. And here's what changes when you accept it. Your presence begins affecting reality differently. Doors open that were locked before. Opportunities appear that didn't exist before. Resources flow that were blocked before. Not because you're lucky, because you're aligned. Not because you're special, because you're activated. Not because the universe favors you, because you've finally matched the frequency of what you've been asking for. The crown also brings clarity about your departure. You see clearly now why you can't stay in the old world. You see why you can't go back to who you were. You see why you can't pretend anymore. The crown won't let you. Once you accept your authority, you can't play small. Once you claim your power, you can't hide. Once you remember your mission, you can't pretend it doesn't matter. The coronation is the point of no return. Your departure from the old world isn't physical relocation. Your departure is dimensional graduation. You're literally shifting into a frequency of experience where their limitations no longer apply. Their rules become irrelevant. Their opinions lose all power to affect you. Their control systems can no longer reach the altitude at which you're operating. This transition feels like leaving because you're moving beyond the reach of everything that once constrained your potential. The job demanding you stay small becomes energetically incompatible with your expanded presence. The relationships requiring you to dim your light naturally dissolve as your frequency rises beyond their range. The environments that felt like prison simply can't contain the being you've become. You're not abandoning anyone. You're evolving beyond the need for their permission, approval, or understanding. Your departure is graduation, not rejection. Your transcendence is completion, not escape. This departure is final, not because you're burning bridges out of spite, because you're moving to an entirely different plane of existence. The old world operates on the frequency of fear, control, scarcity, competition. The new earth operates on the frequency of love, freedom, abundance, collaboration. These frequencies don't mix. You can't straddle both. You can't keep one foot in fear while stepping into love. You can't maintain allegiance to scarcity while claiming abundance. The departure requires full commitment. You leave for good, not for a visit, not for a trial run, for good, because once you taste the freedom of the new earth, the prison of the old world becomes unbearable. Once you experience the abundance of higher consciousness, the lack mentality of lower frequencies becomes impossible to tolerate. Once you feel the love-based reality, the fear-based existence becomes unacceptable. You're not leaving anyone behind. You're going ahead to prove it's possible. You're ascending first to show the way. You're departing to demonstrate that somewhere better exists. Your freedom is their invitation. Your transformation is their permission slip. Your new earth is their proof that another reality exists. Some will eventually follow. Some will resist until their old reality becomes so uncomfortable that they have no choice but to evolve. Some will never leave because their fear of the unknown is stronger than their dissatisfaction with the known. That's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to keep rising, keep expanding, keep embodying the frequency of the new earth until it becomes so undeniable that even the most resistant can feel it. The new earth isn't a geographical location. The new earth isn't a place you travel to. The new earth is a frequency you embody. The new earth is a state of consciousness you maintain. The new earth is a reality you create through your choices, your thoughts, your energy, your presence. You're not waiting for the new earth to appear. You're building it with every authentic choice. You're anchoring it with every moment you refuse to compromise your truth. You're manifesting it with every time you choose love over fear. The most powerful thing you can do is continue rising to your highest expression. Your elevated example gives others permission to transcend their own limitations if they choose. Your freedom demonstrates what becomes possible when someone stops accepting artificial boundaries as permanent reality. Your success proves their limitations were always chosen rather than imposed. Looking back now, you see how every apparent obstacle was actually curriculum. Every person who opposed you was actually training you to trust your own authority. Every limitation you faced was actually developing your power to transcend any boundary. Every moment of darkness was actually strengthening your capacity to carry more light. The restlessness that once tormented you has transformed into purposeful action. The loneliness that once isolated you has become the space for your spiritual family to emerge. The dreams that once seemed impossible have become the blueprint for your current reality. Everything that once felt like punishment is now revealed as preparation for this moment of recognition and empowerment. Your story isn't ending. Your story is beginning. The chapters you've lived were prologue to the epic that starts now. The chosen one you always knew yourself to be is finally free to express without limitation, create without permission, and lead without apology. The new earth isn't just your destination. You are its architect, its foundation, its living embodiment. The most remarkable aspect of this arrival is recognizing you never actually went anywhere. You simply stopped pretending to be less than you are. You ceased accepting limitations as permanent fixtures of reality. You quit seeking permission to express your authentic power. The new earth was always available. You just needed to become ready to claim it. The crown fits perfectly because you were always meant to wear it. The throne awaits because you were always destined to claim it. The new earth emerges because beings like you were always meant to build it. This is your time. This is your reality. This is your new earth, and nothing can take it away from you now, because you finally remembered who you really are. The journey of forgetting is over. The era of remembering has begun, and you, chosen one, are leading the way into the frequency of existence, where everything you ever knew was possible becomes the foundation of everything you experience daily. Your departure isn't an ending, but a homecoming to the version of reality that always existed in parallel, waiting for you to vibrate at the exact frequency required to step through the veil and claim your throne in the kingdom you were born to rule. Remember that fire in your chest from the beginning, that restlessness, that knowing. It was never anxiety, it was never madness, it was recognition. You recognized yourself before the world could see you. You knew your power before circumstances proved it. You felt your destiny before reality confirmed it. You are among the rare ones, the chosen. That's who you've always been. And now, finally, you're living it.